The Yaesu FTM-150RASP. Is this new radio the best option for hams just getting into satellites? Let's find out. Hi folks, I'm Robert, W5ITR, and welcome to Digital Rancher. Last week, Yaesu dropped 3 new mobile analog-only transceivers. As a satellite operator, I am very interested in the FTM-150RASP. Many of you know I am a big proponent of the Icom IC-2730 for FM satellite work. In my opinion, this is the best value and it has all the features a satellite operator needs. So anytime a new radio hits the market that could challenge the 2730, I need to check it out. I want to know if the 2730 is still the radio I should be recommending for hams just getting into satellites. That's the question we're going to answer today. So before we get into specifications and features and functions, what qualifies a radio as the best radio for a ham just getting into satellites? Well, first of all, you need to have a little bit more power than 5 watts. The key to being successful on a routine basis is to have more power than 5 watts. So you're going to need to go mobile. The next consideration is to make sure that mobile radio has 2 receivers and is full duplex. It is critical that you are able to hear yourself in the downlink when you're learning to work satellites. One of the skills you need to develop is how to find and how to track satellites. And it's such a help when you can hear yourself when transmitting to ensure that you're getting into the bird. Now, in addition to being able to hear yourself when you're transmitting, you're able to hear other operators. And this is so important so that you are not inadvertently stomping on other operators when you're transmitting. The last consideration is cost. If you're just getting into this for the first time, you're likely looking to buy a radio. You're going to need an antenna, likely a Yagi or a log periodic. You may need to buy a battery for this mobile kit. And then you're going to need some sort of case or bag to transport and operate from. All of these things start to add up, and you're just getting started. So cost is a big factor. Okay, let's get into some specifications. The FTM-150RASP has some nice satellite features. First of all, this is a dual receiver radio. It has independent controls for each of those receivers, which is very nice. And we did learn in John Crook's latest Yaesu Official podcast that the radio is indeed full duplex. So that's fantastic to get that confirmation. The radio does have a 3-watt speaker in the control head, which is also nice. The radio also comes with a micro SD card slot. Now, this is a really nice feature for radio operators. Today, I use an external Sony voice recorder to ensure I capture all the detail in all of my satellite passes. What's nice about this is I wouldn't have to worry about forgetting that recorder because the recorder is built into the radio and I've got a micro SD card to capture all of that detail. That's a nice feature. This radio does sport the SDX or Super DX preamp that we're seeing in a lot of new Yaesu radios, but this one also includes the new audio digital signal processor. Now, this is the ASP in the 150R ASP. This is a feature that I am guessing looks to improve the signal to noise ratio when you're boosting that entire signal through the audio chain with the SDX button. So I'm really curious to see how this new ASP feature improves weak signal work. The next item I want to point out are the power settings for this radio. And this is where things are a little interesting. You can transmit in either low, medium, or high power, and those translate to either 5 watts, 25 watts, or 55 or 50, depending on if you are transmitting VHF or UHF, respectively. Now, this is where I start to have a little concern for using this radio with satellites. We all know that it's important to only use the power that's required to make the contact. That's our best operating practices. When it comes to satellites, we have other considerations, and those include an excessive power impact on those satellites. Satellite sensitivity is a real thing. Satellites are designed to operate with low power. Oftentimes, the transmit power is milliwatts and maybe up to 3 watts depending on the satellite. These systems may be sensitive to interference from strong signals. Some satellites even have published EIRP levels of less than 20 watts. AO7 has had a reputation of shutting itself down due to excessive power. Too much power can also induce RF interference to the receiver and cause malfunctions. And then finally, we've got the capture effect, and this is where a strong signal can dominate the satellite and step on other operators trying to use the bird. I would prefer that medium option, that medium power option, be less than 25 watts. If you're operating at 5 watts, that's fine, but you can do that with an HT. So really, in my mind, the benefit of using a mobile is that next power step. And for me, I would like to see a radio that has less than 20 watts in that medium step. And then finally, this radio at the time of being published has a MSRP of $420. Let's just quickly take a look at how these features compare to the 2730. In similar fashion, the 2730 does have dual receivers. It does have independent receiver controls. It does not have the front speaker. It does not have the micro SD card. Does not have the Super DX preamp capability. Now, all of that said, I've made many contacts on the 2730. And when we get to the next two criteria, to me, these are more important than those criteria. And that is, my power settings are 5 watts, 15 watts, and 50 watts. If I have a clear sky pass, I will use 5 watts to try to make a contact. If I have a low altitude pass or a pass with obstructions like trees, then I will bump that up to 15 watts. And then finally, we've got the price. The 2730 today can be bought for $310. Now, some people may argue that I'm splitting hairs between 15 watts and 25 watts. And look, that's not an argument I'm going to try to stand on. But we do know that our best practices are use the least amount of power that's required to make the contact. Also, we know that there have been satellites that have a problem with higher power transmissions. So as a member of the community, as a responsible ham radio operator, my recommendations are going to be for those radios that fall within those guidelines that we see and are promoted in the community. Now, the next argument, I think, is very easy to stand on. An additional $110 when you're putting together a satellite kit goes a long way to buying your antenna. For the same money that you're putting into just the Yaesu FTM-150, you can pick up your Icom 2730 and your elk antenna. To me, that is an easy and clear win for the Icom. Look, I am sure the new Yaesu is going to be a fantastic radio. One of the things that you can't argue is newer radios have newer technologies, and those translate into better performance often. I would not discourage someone from using an FTM-150. However, I would recommend the 2730 over the FTM-150RASP. One final thought, I was really excited to hear John Crux say that this is in fact going to be a full duplex radio. The language that they use in describing the receive capabilities, the dual receiver and the receive capabilities for this radio are very similar to the language used to describe the FTX-1F. And I know there's been some banter back and forth on whether or not this is going to be a full duplex radio or not. And for those of you who may not be familiar, the FTX-1F is a all-band, all-mode radio that we're expecting sometime in early 25, and this looks like it's going to be a fantastic radio to work not only FM but linear satellite. So I am very excited for that radio. All right, folks, that's all I have for you today. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the new set here, trying to do something a little bit fun for you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think of the FTM-150RASP. Let me know what you think about using 15 watts or 25 watts. And if you have any opinions about the new set, I'd love to hear those too. Thanks again for watching, folks, and we'll see you next time. 7-3.